Test, test. Good evening, everyone. I think we're ready to get started. Usually I would say let's wait for a few more seats, but out of respect for your time, let's get going. So, good evening. My name is Corey Box. I'm honored to be your mayor. If you've never been here before, welcome to the ranch at Jenks, America. A little bit of housekeeping. If you need water, it's right back here on those tables. If you need to get out of the building quickly, for whatever reason, there's an exit there. And then there's the primary exits that you guys came in over here. So tonight we're going to talk about Peoria Elm. How many of you lived here when the bridge right out here over the Polecat Creek was one lane each way? Yeah, you remember that project? And then Main Street widening. I think Mayor Sims told me that project took, probably 20 years from the time it was born until it was finished. So, and then what was other big, obviously the intersection of 111th and Elwood, which I think affects a lot of people. So, but that didn't last too long. I think that was a good one. My opinion is this project is probably the most significant that we're going to deal with out of all those that I just named, because it affects you guys going back and forth to your homes, and it's every day. I don't blame you for the frustration that I expect you're going to have. I don't blame you one bit, because it's going to be 18 months, hopefully, of you navigating up and down the road just to get back to your house. So there's no doubt about it. I hope everybody has the patience and the grace to forgive the cars that are in front of them and those that are behind them. And we're just going to get through it. And in the end, Councilor Short likes to call it a Super 5. I don't know if that's a technical term, but knowing that you'll be able to get all the way to 131st, with 2 lanes going north and south and 1 in the middle so you can safely turn, that's a real game changer for the city. Now, if you guys didn't know, just last week, we were voted the 2nd best city in the state of Oklahoma. Fort Gibson was number 1, Edmond was number 3. Yesterday, there's another survey that came out, I haven't even shared it yet. We are still, and they voted us as the 2nd best city in Oklahoma. Edmond was number 1 and Fort Gibson was down at number 6. And that's with the infrastructure we have now. So when you think about Peoria Elm getting done in 18 to 24 months, and then the work we have to do on Elwood, which is going to be a lot of work as well in our future, that's really kind of, to me, the hardest and most difficult thing we have to do is pay for, design, and build roads. So appreciate everybody here who was here in 2020 that supported this project with your vote and your tax dollars, which is how we're getting this done. I don't want this to be like Main Street. This started in 2020, and we hope it should be done in 2027. Excuse me, 2026, in the summer of 2026 is I think where we're going to be. So, if you guys have questions afterwards, I'll be here. A couple people I'll introduce you to. You got your city councils are here. We got Kevin Short, Matt Emmons, and Craig Murray. If you have a question tonight that you're writing on a card, if you'll just hold it up, one of these gentlemen will come by and get it and bring it to the front. And what else? I'll be here afterwards if you have any questions. Your city manager will be here till all hours of the night to answer your questions. Robert Carr is our former city engineer. He's now our assistant city manager. So without further ado, I'm going to give the microphone to him, and he's going to talk us through this project. Thank you guys for coming.
Thank you, everybody, for showing up tonight. I'm sure you've got some good questions to ask us. Hopefully we'll have all of the answers, or will we be able to find them fairly quickly. This project, as the mayor was saying, was voted in 2020. And I know we've already had a question of what took so long to get it started. Well, we didn't have a design engineer at the time, so we had to go and select a design engineer. That took a while to get everything worked out. There's other things that have to be done before you can start construction. That's what you have. There may be some additional right-of-way that needs to be purchased, and then utilities need to be relocated, because you want to have them all out of the way before the contractor starts work, so that he doesn't have to sit around and wait for a utility pole or a gas line or something to be moved out of the way. So it takes a while to get things started, but now we're at that stage. The project itself is doing some intersection improvements starting, if I look at going from north to south, from 111th, we'll be doing some intersection improvements there, adding some turn lanes, and then we're going to be widening the road from the existing 3-lane, 1 lane in each direction, and the center turn lane. We'll be widening out to 5 lanes total, so it'll carry some more, all the way down to 120, past 121st. It actually goes a little beyond that intersection, past to where Gaetano's is in that shopping center. That's about where we start tapering down. That's phase 1. We actually have a phase 2 that's under design right now and should be out for bid probably within another month or so. That will continue those lanes further down to 131st intersection and a little beyond that to make some improvements at that intersection. Then if we come back to 116th, we're actually going a little bit more to the east off of Elm on 116th. We're putting a trail on the south side on the First Baptist Church property. There's a new fence that's being put up along from 116th south by where Fox Run is. We'll be making traffic signal improvements that will also allow for some battery backup to those. If the power goes out, then the signals will still work without somebody having to be called out to reset the button and get signals going again. That's the general overview of what the project is. Now up here at this table, we've got a representative from the contractor, Paragon Construction. Eric Shear is here. We have the person to the city manager's left is Keith Marquardt. He's the design engineer, so he's the one that's created all of this. And then Randall White, a former district engineer for ODOT in our district. He's our construction oversight project manager. So we've got some expertise to be able to do this project, and Randall's group is also going to be doing testing of materials during this course of construction. So construction, design, and management are all up here.
And if I could just give some background on this project and other projects. I came here in January of 2015, and at that time the voters had just passed a GEO bond issue to build the frontage road on the south side of the turnpike, connecting Elm to where the outlet mall is currently. Also going on at that time was the design and funding of the Main Street widening from Elm Street all the way to Highway 75. And then at that same time, we were working with INCOG and applying for grants with ODOT to improve Elwood from 111th to Main Street. And so if you think about the Main Street project, the first GEO bond that the citizens of Jenks voted on for the Main Street project was in 2002. And so you go back, let's say 25 years, and think about what Jenks looked like in the year 2000 and what the city council and what the administration at that time were thinking about, and we didn't have all the growth that we have now south of the turnpike. And so I think both the administration, council, and citizens, the idea was we have the Creek Turnpike right on Elm, but we have this small 2-lane road going from Elm all the way out to Highway 75. And so at that time, the priority was to get better access to Highway 75 to provide our residents at the time, who were mostly clustered north, to have access to the Creek Turnpike, and with the Main Street project, better access to Highway 75. if you recall, back in the population at that time was under 10,000 people when that first bond was voted on. And so widening Elm at that time really wasn't a priority because all these neighborhoods that are currently south of the turnpike, a lot of them weren't there. Some of them were, but right now the majority of our population lives south, whereas at that time it was more centrally located. And so with the kind of stop and start development on where the mall is now, we had kind of these grand plans in 2006 and 2008 from developers related to this, big shopping center, bringing the drillers down there. And so because there was so much interest in developing that land, I can only guess that the council, citizens, and the administration back in 2008, 9, 10 were planning on how can we get access to this land where these people have these big dreams of some big development, and that's when I think it was put before the voters for the 2014 bond vote to build the frontage road on the south side of the turnpike. And I think that that has ultimately been successful. That's one of those where people made the decision to build something before there was any development in order to facilitate development to that area. I think some of the things that I've heard is, well, why hasn't, we already are at capacity, or that's the perception on Elm, and why hasn't this happened sooner? And I think that these projects that I bring up, it's, we have a changing landscape, and these projects sometimes can take, a decade or more, and so priorities change. And obviously, with the surge in population south, the Elm Street project became the #1 priority, and really was the #1 priority when I got here in 2015. And originally the plan was to widen Elm from 111th basically to about 124th or 25th. And I think credit to the council and the citizens, because a lot of those citizens spoke up back in 2019 and said, they voiced their opinion that we shouldn't just be widening down basically just past the intersection of 121st, kind of past Casey's as it exists now, but all the way to 131st. If we're doing this, let's do the whole 2 miles, because we just continue to see growth and it's going to need to happen eventually anyways. And so in 2020, the council did approve going to a vote of the people for a GO bond for the entire 2 miles from 111th to 131st. I think that was planned for April of 2020. So that we seemed to have some issues in 2020. And so that vote ended up getting pushed back till August of 2020. And included in that GO bond vote was, I believe, 16 or 18 million for the widening of Elm. There was money in there for the design of 106th Street from Elm to where the mall is now. There was also money for the wastewater treatment plant system, and I think some money for the design of Elm Street. And so we thought we were going to be able to do this whole project at once and do the 2 miles. As Robert alluded to, we can have the best plans in the world and all the will to build a road, but we require cooperation with AT&T, Cox, PSO, East Central Electric, all these other entities that have either utilities in the ground or utilities above the ground that have to be moved. In some cases, they're required to move them at their own expense. In other cases, we have to pay them to move. And so a lot of that requires acquiring property from different property owners. We try to give them a fair price. Sometimes we have to go back and forth. And so that takes time. So the property acquisition process takes time. Once we acquire the property, getting the utilities to move their existing infrastructure from where it is to the new property that we acquire takes time. And in one instance, south of 126, there's a large piece of land on the west side of Elm that is owned by a Native American family who apparently just about everybody is deceased, and there was no one to really contact other than the Bureau of Indian Affairs. And so that took even longer, and because it was taking so long, the council, I think, made a prudent decision to say, hey, let's just move forward with what we can, which is 111th to 121st, and that's what we're starting on, that's what has started. And then, as Robert said, we hope in the near future to come back and award a contract to widen from 121st all the way down to 131st. And I think there's been a lot of planning and a lot of work both on, before me and during my time, before these counselors and during their time. And I give a lot of credit for it being a fluid situation and them taking citizens' concern into account. I mean, one example I can give is south of 121st, the original idea was we already have a 2-lane road. Let's just take that center line and add additional lanes on either side of the existing road. And that sounds great, but when you go down there and you look at Yorktown and Wakefield, if we were to just add lanes on the east side of the existing road, that new road would be extremely close to the backyards of a lot of residents in Wakefield and a lot of residents in Yorktown. And so the engineers, based on the direction from council and city management, decided we're not going to get any closer to all those homes that back up to Elm south of 121st, and we're going to go ahead and if we're going to add lanes, we're going to add those lanes on the west side of Elm where there are no existing homes. And so everything that you see east of that road is going to remain, except we will be adding a trail. But I just say that because I think that, I think the whole purpose of the mayor having this is, how can, this thing is under construction. We know it's been a priority of the citizens, and now that it's under construction, we do want feedback as we go. How can we improve this process? We want to know what your concerns are as it relates to, do we think people are going to be trying to get off of Elm and cut through 106? Do we think they're going to be trying to cut through Fox Run? And we want to minimize the impact not only on the people that are driving on Elm, but minimize the impact of this on the surrounding neighborhoods. And so I think this is kind of both, we'll give you an update on kind of the ins and outs of what's happening with the timeline, but also we'd like to hear your feedback, not only today, but as this project progresses on how we can improve the construction process and the logistics. So I really appreciate everyone showing up today. I appreciate the mayor putting this together, and I think that we're open for suggestions and recommendations, and hopefully we can answer all the questions you have tonight. I don't know if we want to take questions now or get into any of the details related to the actual project itself. What do you think?
I'm open either way.
Do we want to just maybe start taking some questions?
I have to read them from the microphone and then pass it back to you. Sorry. Okay, we are going to start with our online submitted questions. So, and then if you have more, yes, thank you, Councilor Murray. So, will a new right turn lane from southbound Elm to westbound 111th be constructed? So you can pass that down.
I'll go ahead and take that. Yes, there will be. The current right turn lane that's dedicated for southbound to westbound will turn into a through lane, and then we're going to build an additional right turn lane in front of the new Maverick that'll handle southbound traffic on Elm to westbound on 111.
Are there any opportunities for the timeline to be shortened by having work done on evenings and weekends? If this isn't a possibility, why?
Weekend working was not really part of this project specification. I understand that it may have helped to shorten things up, but there's only so much that you can do during the weekend that you would have to defer from regular work day hours. I'm not sure. Do you want to address any of that?
The answer is they only do that in Texas. That's the fact.
They only do that in Texas, you say?
Never lived in Texas, they work all day and night, and the way they don't do that here. I don't know. Something in Texas thing?
I believe starting this project kind of in a time of the year where, you know, we don't have a whole lot of daylight, and I don't believe that the weekend and night work would actually be beneficial cost-wise. That may be part of the reason. Later on in the seasons, that could possibly be an option if the city and if the people actually want that. You know, a lot of times we'll try to work on the weekends or the evenings, and property owners don't like that scenario. They don't want to be interrupted in the evenings during their downtime or on the weekends and their time of leisure. So that could have been a possibility as well.
And I think that is a valid question. I mean, that would probably speed up the process, but make it quite a bit more expensive. And with the amount of projects that we have, we don't have funding for all the existing priorities that we have, and we're trying to be wise with how we spend the money. And I think that the contractor really hit the nail on the head with, I know that all of the neighborhoods that are experiencing significant growth, something that we receive complaints on a consistent basis that I think are valid is, you know, home builders or contractors try to come in and they want to be as efficient as they can, and they may show up at 6 a.m. Well, you know, if you have a baby or if you have a dog that barks or if you are trying to sleep and a contractor shows up and is making a bunch of noise at 6 a.m., it doesn't make you very happy. And to think about all of the residents that do back up to Elm, there's a significant amount of people that I would think would prefer that this not be happening in the middle of the night with the amount of noise and everything else. So hopefully that answers the question. And if there's any follow-up, I think we'd be happy to try to answer that.
Will the traffic on Elm Street be diverted to the Fox Run neighborhood? I kind of addressed this, but.
It's not in anybody's best interest to divert traffic through neighborhoods. So the simple answer to that is no, it won't. They will not be diverted through Fox Run. Now, that's not to say that some people that are traveling on the road might think it'd be faster to get to where they're going by going through the neighborhood. That's really not anything that the contractor is going to be able to control. There's the next question really is related to it also. Will anything be done to prevent 106th and Elgin Streets from becoming major detour routes? It's not part of the project scope here. We're quite a ways away from the intersection at 106th. And again, if people decide they want to go that way, then the contractor's really not going to be able to manage that. Now, if we get a lot of that happening, then I'll have to divert to the police department to see if they can do something to discourage that traffic from taking place, both either on 106th and Elgin or through Fox Run.
Do you want to address number 6, because it kind of is the same?
The next question was, can you mark 106 as residential traffic only, no through street? It is a through street. I mean, again, if people are electing to go that way, there's really not too much we can do about that. I don't know that putting up signs like that is going to be helpful for the police to enforce people going in the right places or not. I mean, it's like when I was thinking about this earlier today, it's like when you come up to an intersection and somebody wants to cut through a parking lot of a business on the corner to make it through the light and down the next road. We can't control that. I mean, it's something that we discourage, but it's a difficult thing to be able to flat out say that will not happen.
And another point is, I think that as this project progresses, we will see what the driving patterns are. I think some people will maybe stay on Highway 75 longer, maybe take Elwood. Maybe there will be people cutting through Fox Run or going up 106th and taking Elgin. And I would encourage you to continue to keep us apprised of that, because while it is a public street and people are free to drive on it, we don't want people driving, fast or dangerously or anything like that. And I think I give credit to our Jenks Police Department. I mean, we have different signs we put up that track speed. We have traffic count machines that can count the number of cars that are going through. And so as this progresses, if we do see issues, or if you see issues, please let us know. And the police department is extremely accommodating at getting that sign out. I know that on Main Street, on A Street, coming off the bridge, we frequently put the sign out when we have residents say that we think there's a speeding issue. And so we really are here to try to make this as easy as possible, knowing it's still going to be some pain for at least the next 18 to 24 months.
Sir, I can address that. I just came in from 111th, Elgin, 106, and the traffic is heavy. All right. It's the first day.
All right. How about waiting until the Highway 75 project is complete, or at least closer to being complete? So they're referring to the bridge being built over Highway 75 at, I believe, 151st, 141st, 41st in Glenpool. So we want to talk a little bit about the timing of that project.
The City of Jenks doesn't control the Department of Transportation schedules, and I don't mean this in any derogatory way, but I would hate to be waiting on the state of Oklahoma on their schedule for them completing a project before we begin one that the residents voted on in 2020 and expect to be completed. Most of the comments that I've heard is, we wish this project and we wish this road was wider yesterday. And I think that, I don't think it would be prudent to say that we are going to wait on the state of Oklahoma to complete another project, because there's always going to be projects going on Highway 75, one after the other. I think that our staff has done everything they can to ensure that the two north-south corridors within the city, which are Elwood and Elm, we had a project on Elwood that was completed a few years ago. That's done. We have no construction on Elwood right now, and now we're working on Elm, and we will not start another project on our second and only north-south corridor until Elm Street is completed. So, we control what we control, and we're doing our best, but I don't think that it would be worth waiting on ODOT, because that's a huge project and could last years and years and years.
We'll do one more at this table, and then I think there's one for the police department. But has anyone within the city been or personally contacted a similar city in size that uses extensive roundabouts in moving traffic? Could they be used in projects like these? That's probably a more general question, but.
Well, we have two, and I think that the roundabout on the north side of the turnpike largely works fine, and I had significant concerns about the roundabout on the south side of the turnpike, along with our staff after it was completed, related to the width of the lanes, the turning radius, how we mark it, how we sign it so people know how to use it. We have looked at traffic circles, and I think that we were pretty far along in the design of this project, and I just don't think it necessarily it's a prudent thing to do all the way down our major arterial through the city. And so I don't know if the engineer has, in designing this, looked at roundabouts, but no.
As I'm sure you guys know or have seen, roundabouts take a lot of right-of-way, take up a lot of space. And if you've driven the intersections, 121st and 111th, they're fairly well developed. It would require basically buying out a lot of commercial properties as far as the physical requirements to put a functioning roundabout in to handle the traffic load that South Elm sees right now. We never analyzed the traffic circle for either of those intersections due to the development and the aspects of the project, which were basically we're going to widen the existing alignment, and it would take a lot of major reconstruction to get a roundabout in that place.
Okay, thank you. This next one's for the police department. Will Elwood be more closely monitored because of the extra traffic from the Highway 75 project and now this project? There have been several accidents on Elwood, and we are concerned.
We're going to monitor it just like we normally do. Some of you may not know, I'm Melissa Brown. I'm the assistant police chief. Our chief is on vacation, so I'm standing in his place. Sorry. So we're going to monitor it just like we normally would everything else. We try to be in all the places that we can be as often as possible. So if we have complaints or we see issues, we'll go out there and address them. Like the city manager said, we do have the traffic counter that does the speed and gives a warning light. So we'll utilize those if we see that there's a problem on Elwood. But we don't foresee it being really any different than it currently is now.
Okay, those conclude our online questions, so we can start addressing the ones that you all have here. There was talk in the early plans for a traffic light at 116th Street, but it has been pulled, it looks like. Can it be reconsidered?
Well, I think that traffic calming or traffic intersections can always be considered after the fact. I think that based on the traffic volume and the number of homes and everything else east of Elm on 116th perhaps didn't warrant an actual signal there. Our goal is to keep Elm moving. And I think every traffic light that we add to this stretch really just slows down traffic north-south, and I think that's the priority of the vast majority of our citizens, is to get this traffic flowing efficiently, and adding another light would slow it down. Now I think once this is built, and if we have significant concerns with 116th and Elm, we are certainly open to evaluating it to see if a traffic light or intersection is necessary. I think along with that, our goal is for this to be a pedestrian-friendly roadway as well, so that we have trails on connecting people all the way at 131st to our trail system closer to the aquarium. And you can get on, when this is done, you can get on a trail at 131st and Jenks and ride your bike or walk all the way to downtown Jenks, and then you can cross the river and be on a trail all the way up to Skiatook. And I think that that's a pretty neat amenity to have in a community like ours, to have that pedestrian and bicycle connection with not only Tulsa, but other cities in the area. And so we certainly will be evaluating that area once this is completed, but right now, based on the existing traffic conditions, we didn't think it was necessary.
And there's a couple about this, so I'm just going to read one of them, but they all address the same issue. So it is currently being reported on social media that Elm southbound is closed prior to 111th Street, and cars are having to merge to one lane. Number one is accurate. Number two, why wasn't that delayed until the widening of Elm Street south of 111th Street was completed to prevent the bottleneck? So it's asking, why are we closing this west lane north of 111th?
To be honest, I'm not a traffic control person. I know there's rules and regulations as far as distances. I would have to basically get a hold of our traffic control people and get back to you at a later date. I personally do not know.
I'll add something to that. So when we phase this project, we have to allow the contractor to have room to work. And there is, I'm sure well aware that that street is very congested. And the contractor really has no room to work. We've got to give them some public land to work off of. We're going to build a right turn lane in front of the in front of the Maverick Station, as we explained earlier, a dedicated right turn lane. So the current right turn lane will actually, will be a through lane southbound. So we'll have 2 through lanes and a right turn lane. So in the phasing of that, we've got to allow the contractor to be able to get in there and work. Today's the first day we've set up traffic control, and it's like this on every project we deal with. The first day when traffic comes through, everybody's used to having full access to all the lanes, and it's difficult to get through. So we're going to work out a few of the kinks. I think there's times that we can allow that lane to be open. Today they set the traffic control 100% per the plan. And if they were working in that area tomorrow, they'd be justified to leave that in its place. When we get to a point where they are physically working in that area, and I don't know the contractor's immediate plans, but when he does get working in that area, we will be at this lane configuration that we have right now. We're going to have 1 through lane and a left turn lane, and that current right turn lane will be blocked. So again, we'll look at it on a not day by day basis, but as the contractor's work progresses, we'll get to a point that is definitely going to have to be closed. There's a possibility that we can be fluid with it early in the design, or early in the construction, to allow more of those rights at this time. And we've talked about that prior to this meeting, and I think that's something that we're going to make happen and at least alleviate some of the current congestion. The major thought on this is we're trying to merge everybody before we get to that intersection. If we don't merge them before, then we're going to have to merge them after, and that's always a race to the merge. We'd like the congestion to be in front of our construction zone. We don't want our contractors subject to people trying to hurry into a merged lane. So again, it's going to be difficult. I think we all knew that going in. Traffic loads are pretty high on the pavement we've got right now, so when we take a lane away, it's going to get a lot worse, and we saw a little example of that today. But again, it'll be fluid, and I think we can make it less painful on a regular basis, but it will be a point where that work is being done, and we will have this exact lane configuration as we have today.
Will any of the entrances be blocked to any of the subdivisions, example, Churchill Park, Yorktown, on a temporary basis or even a long-term basis?
All right, so we typically do streets 1/2 at a time. Most of the streets that we have that service or that enter Elm are wide enough that we can do that and still get two-way traffic through it. So no major residential streets are planned to be closed for construction.
Do the improvements of this project include the intersection of 131st and Elm?
This project, no. The second project, phase 2, yes. We're going to have the second project as Mr. Carr, and as mentioned, it's coming in a month or two. We're going to bid it, and that will improve the intersection at 131st Street. It'll include 131st Street's intersection will include a right turn lane for westbound 131st to northbound Elm Street. So that should improve that. We have also talked to citizens on the west side of Elm that are having a difficult time making a left to northbound Elm Street. Currently, it's just a protected left or a permissive left with a ball, and they're having a hard time making that signal within a signal cycle. Future plans are a protected left for that direction as well, so those folks will be able to get into Elm Street.
What will be the speed limit after the project is completed? Maybe a better question is, do we see speed limit changes once this is changed? listed.
Should be 45 miles an
The postage, or I'm sorry, the signage for the project, we have this posted at 45 miles an hour.
And I can actually take this one. Can we have a project management phase 1 and 2 with key points in progress available to the public online? And we do have a page on our website dedicated to this. We are recording this for our YouTube channel. We'll also have this presentation with those points added to it online. And as we go through this project, as things get completed, those will be crossed off or made that you know that each task has been completed in each phase. So those things will be available online and obviously on our social media and things. But people that don't do social media, it's on our website and it's on our homepage, a graphic. It's very easy to find. It looks like that, and you click on it and it takes you to that page. So, but as a communications director, I take feedback, and if you'd like other ways that you guys can access that, please let me know and I will add that. Main Street felt like it took forever. Can I trust the Elm project won't drag on? So I'm going to rephrase this. What is the timeline of this project?
We gave the contractor 15 months to complete the work from the starting date. It gives them a production rate in the neighborhood of about $600,000 a month, which is pretty aggressive. So we don't expect that he'll have a lot of time to sit around. He's going to be pretty busy. But the time frame is, we gave the contractor 450 calendar days included in the contract.
But it's important to recognize, and it's built into the project design documents also, that there may be some weather delays. I mean, this project was anticipated to be started on the 6th of January, and it was very cold out then. All they could do was put out a few signs. What they were planning on doing was what they were doing today to do the lane shifting, but the weather didn't cooperate. Now, if we get a lot of rain, it's going to slow the project down. So we do the best we can, but sometimes the weather changes the direction.
What is the status of the 3 bridges as part of the 106th Street extension? Are those federal, or which entities would be involved?
So the 106th Street, as it doesn't exist right now, going eastbound from Elm, I think what this question is referring to would, from the 106th and Elm intersection, go east and then would encounter Polecat Creek as it winds down, and then the railroad tracks, and then also Wilmot Creek, which flows on the east side of the railroad tracks south. And the reason that I think staff, council, and the citizens viewed this as a priority is, with the mall development and with the development that will surround the mall, we thought it would be best to provide an additional outlet or additional way to enter the property that isn't through 2 of those roundabouts or going under the turnpike by the river. Right now, that 106th going east is still within the design phase, and so we don't have a funding mechanism for it currently. We have the design funded, but the actual construction project is not funded. And as you know, I think that we'll be better informed as the mall area develops as to where this lies in our list of priorities, accessing that property. Because I know I personally had a lot of concerns about the mall opening and having the existing access points with the frontage road through the roundabout on the south side of the turnpike, the kind of like cattle crossing kind of underneath the turnpike, right by the roundabout on the north side of the turnpike, and then we have the access underneath the turnpike over by Lewis and the river. And I was concerned, I think that our other staff members were concerned that perhaps this wasn't enough ingress, egress. But so far, we have found, and I think that Simon Property Group has found, that the existing infrastructure meets the needs of the mall just fine. I think I don't ever expect a mall to open and be on an island for 30 years. I think that there's going to be a significant amount of development surrounding the mall, and I think that's when 106 will really be more of a priority. But right now, we're still just working on a design, and we don't have any idea how we will fund this moving forward. So when we do, we will certainly have updates at City Council, and hopefully have another event like this where we can talk about that.
And kind of on the same subject, is expanding Polecat Bridge still on the project list, Vision 30? It says.
Well, Polecat winds through Jenks, so I don't know. The existing bridge on Elm, I'm unaware of any plans to widen that. We do plan to, at some point, whether it's in 5 years or 20 years, have a road going on 106th over Polecat there that doesn't exist today. We have a road over Polecat at Elwood, and I don't know what that would be, Elwood and 101st perhaps, that we do have federal funding to widen and improve that road or that bridge. But those are the only bridges I can think of that are over Polecat right now, and I don't know if there's anything you have.
This is our last submitted one, unless anyone else has one to submit. This one says, which way is north? And so I'm wondering if it means which way the lanes are going to be going on north.
If you look at page 6,
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
I believe you'll find that the Maverick station is on the west side of the road, not the east side of the road. These plans are very hard for me to understand because I believe the north arrow is 180 degrees up.
Well, yeah, if I'm looking at page 6 and I'm looking at this, the larger picture on the bottom of this page shows Elm going from left to right, and then you have the intersection of 111th and Elm, and then you have the Maverick station on the west side of the car wash. Okay, I'm at the wrong.
Are you looking at the north arrow?
So what are we talking about, Maverick?
Go to the next page and you'll find the driveway to the Maverick station on the next sheet.
And so for this purpose, I'm not an engineer, so I agree these are hard to read for me. But what we're going to do is when we put these online, we will have a label we'll have a compass on each page. We'll make it bigger, and we'll do some things to just make it a little easier to understand where you are geographically. So, yeah, absolutely.
It confused me too.
I know. It confused me too. You guys are smart.
The picture is from. So when we design projects, we design from the south to the north and from the west to the east. It's just the way it's been done for years. So when we laid these out, we're starting on the south side and going north. So a lot of people look at it the other way and go from 111th to 121st Street. But this pictorial that's included in this handout that has basically our striping plan is what we're showing on here. It's from south to north. So as you're starting at 121st Street and going to the north, and that's where the confusion may lie.
And like I said, we'll do some better labeling when we get it online for people to see. So, is there anyone else that has a question to submit? Yes.
Funding profile for this particular project, what's the outlook as far as increase in scope or increase in actual cost at the end of the project? Any ideas on that and so forth? I know it's early.
So, yes. So the question was related to funding, and do we expect that I guess what I'm gathering is the existing funding that we have, is that going to be enough? Do we anticipate that the cost estimates that we have will be enough? Because this is funded through the 2020 GEO bond. It was actually, some of the engineering was pre-funded through the Vision Extension Fund, which was approved in 2016 by voters. and refunded through the 2020 bond issue. You know, with COVID, we did see an increase in the cost of doing business in just about every way that you can imagine, whether it be personnel, hard costs. And so we think that with this existing project being bid out, they're starting, you know, that's set, that we will be good so far on the second phase when we go out to bid on that. And we've been tracking that internally. So I'm confident that we will have the necessary funds to complete this project with the existing GEO bond funds. If at a later date that we determine that may not be the case, I think that, you know, we'll have to think about where we could potentially fund that from. But right now I'm optimistic, and maybe you can ask that same question in a year and a half and see what the answer is.
Okay, it looks like we have wrapped up our questions before I turn it back over to the mayor to close. Okay. Oh, one over here. I'm sorry.
Thanks for organizing, but I do have a question about public services. How will that be addressed as far as emergency vehicles getting downtown or through the neighborhood?
During the construction?
During the construction.
Okay.
You know, we hear a lot of times from downtown residents, central fire
Mhm.
station. So I'd just like to kind of hear, so we can pass it on so that people aren't worried. I had discussions with our safety committee and fire chief about even in my neighborhood right here, where it's going to take 18 minutes.
Okay. Well, sure. I just want to, we won't be able to hear any of it, so let me repeat it. So we're asking, how will public safety be impacted during this construction project, time-wise, response time? What is your plan? Is that, oh, did you want to speak first? I'm sorry.
I can go high level and let them get the details. But as many of you know, we have essentially shut down Station 1. It's a significantly aged building. I think it was built in the 60s, and it's kind of had many lives, and it's been a fire station for a while now. But we discovered some mold and thought that, you know, basically kind of tearing apart this Frankenstein building to remediate the mold would end up costing more than the structure's worth. And so that's why that's one of the reasons why we're building a new fire station across the street. We anticipate that fire station that's across the street from City Hall to be completed hopefully by the end of this summer, which would mean that we would then permanently have staff south of, or north of the turnpike, able to not have to deal with this traffic when servicing the downtown area. And I think that based on the number of projects we've had both on Main Street, Elwood, the frontage road, Main Street just recently with the work that's been done from the railroad tracks to Elm, our public safety personnel are well versed in getting through these construction areas. But if there's anything specific that they have to add, I'd
Police work out of their vehicles, and we're able to station people at different areas around the city. We actually spoke today about stationing guys out south during the rush hour times so that we have people available. It's a lot easier for us to get around. Our cars are easier to get around. So I don't think that we're going to have any issues. But I'll pass over.
And my name is Greg Osterman, I'm the fire chief here at Jenks, to introduce to the people who don't know here. Obviously with this project, we do anticipate some delays, but there are other ways to get through towns. Like I said, our crews are excellent at maneuvering. We don't rush to any scene, so it's not a traffic speed issue necessarily for us. It's just maneuvering through traffic. Our crews are actually already planning on, as this project starts, our captains that are on duty will be driving the areas, will be anticipating where the traffic could be problem-wise, and finding alternate routes and kind of planning that ahead of time. A lot of the addresses there will be no delays at all, just because of how we go normally through Elwood or through 75, and the impact up on Elm. Of course, they'll be looking for areas to get through there and around those areas without having to go necessarily through the construction zones. Yeah. Well, I really wouldn't speak for MSUB, but they tend to be coming from the north anyway, so they're already up north.
And lastly, just communication-wise, I'm encouraging everyone, please sign up for our alert system. You can get text or email or phone call about these delays and projects or project closure, lane closures, everything like that to deal with Elm. So that's the easiest way. And then, of course, our website and social media. So I'm always open to feedback on other ways too. So you can reach me at my email or talk to me after. Mayor, do you want to wrap up? No? Okay. City manager?
I just thank all of you for coming and showing interest, and if you have any additional feedback after this meeting or sometime in the future, please let us know. I think that my staff and the city council is very open to having these discussions and seeing what we can do to alleviate any existing issues. I'm really proud that and lucky to be the city manager of Jenks, and I think that this is one of the most exciting and challenging times to be in Jenks with the population growth that we've had, the economic growth that we've had. Our school system is still amazing. We still have wonderful neighborhoods. It's a safe town. And, I tell council and my staff that when I look at making decisions or making recommendations for the city of Jenks, I don't think of it as, what's the best thing next year? What's the best thing in 10 years? I think about what's the best thing for this community in 100 years. And I think sometimes the people that are living during the transition have to deal with the pain so that the people that come after us can enjoy the benefit of having a nice thoroughfare from north to south through the city. And I really appreciate, and I know that council and my staff appreciate your patience and support of this project. And we're going to do anything we can to make this as painless as possible, even though we understand that there will be some pain points along the way. So thank you again, and if you have any additional questions, we'll be here to answer them.